Michelle in Columbus, Ohio. Hey, Michelle.
Oh, hi, Tom. I wanted to respond to the guest you had on earlier today, the illegitimacy arguments.
Yes.
Which drive me absolutely insane, because I think this is just a different variety of this right-wing fanatical obsession with sex. This is what it comes down to: is poor people have no rights. They have, and sex is a right of human beings for pleasure. You have no right for pleasure, even if you're poor. You have no right for decent food, like Sean Hannity talked about one night on his program. Oh, if you're poor, you can cook up a whole pot of beans and eat off of that all week. That might sustain your body, but there's no pleasure in that.
Well, and frankly, over the long term, it wouldn't sustain your body.
Well,
I'm astounded that a guy with a $200 million income would say something like that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's ridiculous. But this almost gets to be really, I don't know where to put it, Ceausescu-esque. I mean, poor people do not have the right to experience the pleasures.
Wait a minute. You're talking about Nicholas Ceausescu, the former dictator of Romania?
Yeah. You have no rights to experiencing not just the pleasure of sex, which the last time I checked, outside of, some exceptions, is free.
Or maybe it was Bulgaria.
You also don't have the right to experience the pleasure of having children and raising children. These are basic, ordinary goals and aspirations of any human being. But
Sure.
when I hear these illegitimacy arguments from these people, what they're ultimately saying, it's a double-edged strategy, and the punishment that's involved. You have no right to experience the pleasure of sex in the first place, bottom line.
Right.
And secondly, you have no right to experience the pleasure of having children. And if you have children that you cannot afford, and let's be realistic, even for the so-called middle class that hardly exists anymore, they can barely afford to have children and raise children.
Well, and this is one of the reasons why
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I pardon my interrupting you, but I just wanted to add, this is one of the reasons why the age at which people start having children is being pushed back into the early 30s now, whereas, 3 decades before Reagan, it was in the early 20s, which is actually when people should be having babies biologically. And it's because, they're broke.
They're broke, and this constant, when I hear this values argument, this is deception.
It is blame the victim is what it is, Michelle. It is blame the victim. She shouldn't have worn that dress. The variation on she shouldn't have worn that dress is she shouldn't have had sex. It's blame the victim.
This is blame the victim. This is blame human beings for wanting to engage in what is normal human aspiration. This is just absurd. And then if you actually pursue those things, you will be punished. If you are poor, there will be punishment, and
Yeah. No, I got it. And you're right. And it's people who, for some reason, have decided that they themselves are going to withhold pleasure from themselves, who want to say to all of the rest of us, you should all withhold pleasure from yourselves. And I think it comes out of a bizarre kind of Puritanish perspective, whether it's, as Dennis was saying, it was his grandfather's Orthodox Judaism, or whether it's somebody being a Southern Baptist. I don't think it makes much difference. Michelle, thank you. Or a secular parent.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Or I should say a secular social fundamentalist. Let's call it that. We'll be back. It's 15 minutes past the